One evening, Thomas and Percy were at the sheds with Donald and Douglas. Donald was telling the others of how he got back at Doug for pulling a trick on him. But don't worry, Dougie, he said proudly. Young Dilly's at the pond of herself. Now we visit more often than ever. Thomas and Percy chortled until Duck puffed in. Evening all, he panted. Henry was delayed on the other railway, and I had to dawdle around for ages to wait for his connection. Donald and Douglas smirked. Talk about the wee engines, sniffed Douglas. Always going on about how superior they are to us branch line engines, added Donald. Doug had laughed until something had popped into his funnel. Oh, and another thing, he went on. Did you know that on the other railway, they have no brakevans on their trains there? Strange, isn't it? Percy was very confused. Henry told me that when he came to my station. Trains without brakevans? Thomas quizzed. That's the most ridiculous idea I've ever heard. Brakevans are essential, you know. You're right, Thomas, said his driver. But goods trains on the other railway, they have special kind of brakes that help them slow down easier. You've seen trains like Gordon's Express. They don't need brake vans. Sniffed Percy. What's good enough for the other railway is good enough for us. Even me, at least. I don't think I need a stupid brake van. The other engine laughed and laughed. Don't be so daft, Howard, his driver. You've seen runaways without brake vans before, Percy. Well, huffed Percy, it's only because those stuck-up engines are so full of themselves sometimes. At least we know how to keep our freight cars in order. They could learn a thing or two from us. Aye, agreed Donald. But be careful what you say about brake vans. The Phantom Brakevan will say otherwise. What? Asked Thomas. Is the Phantom Brakevan? Donald and Douglas smirked to each other. Well, went on Donald, legends say that one brakevan was a very kind and helpful sort. It came onto every goods train and made sure the trucks were on their best behavior one way or another. But one terrible night, the shunter had forgotten to fasten the coupler, and the poor wee thing was left on its own. It sat there somberly, looking down at its buffers, when all of a sudden, he heard a clanking. Some cars had broken away and were heading right towards him. The guard jumped down just in time as they hit them with a bang. Unfortunately, he wasn't strong enough to hold the train back, and he careened into the back of the shed. The brake van was in smithereens. Now, no one knows how, but some say that whenever there's a runaway, that very same brake van appears one way or another. The engines quivered, but Percy huffed indignantly. Phooey! What a load of rubbish! Funny way to play a ghost story if you ask me. And he steamed away to the harbor. The harbor had problems of its own. More ships and liners had brought passengers and goods from other countries. This meant extra coaches had to be added in. Every engine worked their hardest. Even James had gone through the day without complaining. Percy was sent to bring a goods train from there. He was very exhausted and wanted to get the job over with. Bertie the bus was there. What's up, Percy? Oh, just Donald and Douglas told me a funny ghost story about brake vans and all that. Was it about the Phantom one? Yeah, sure, whatever that is. Oh yeah, that story, thought Bertie. One of the workmen told me about that story. Some strange things happen around the harbor, especially when I'm on passenger pickup. Well, I can't stop here to play ghost hunting with you. Must be off. Beep, beep. Percy felt a little better talking to Birdie. The driver looked back, hoping to see the guard. The shunter was walking back to the rear car. He found that the train hadn't a brake van. He squinted his eyes, and he swore he could have seen an old brake van attached to the rear car. Before he can examine, a whistle caught his attention. He looked back and saw Gordon having his dome checked. The shunter walked off, thinking the brake van was coupled to the train. Or was it? Percy, thinking everything was clear, started so soon. Let's get a good speed! Let's get a good speed, he chanted. His driver and fireman found him hard to control. They had just passed the signal box when the signalman saw something wrong. As Percy passed by, there was no sign of a brake van. The signalman tried to halt all traffic and attempted to give Percy red signal, but it was too late. They were already approaching the hill, and Percy found it hard to keep the cars under control. Come on, he puffed. And he puffed with all his might, but he pulled so hard that one of the couplings broke. The last freight cars were free. On, faster, faster, they cried as they cruised down the hill. The engines gasped when they saw the cars fly by. A crash waiting to happen, the trucks laughed. They hadn't noticed they had bumped into a brake van. They screamed and tried to push on, but the van's brakes came on with a scream, and then it came to a sudden stop, right beside the edge of the quay. Everyone stared in shock. Goodness gracious me, said one workman. How did that brake van get there? It wasn't supposed to be on that line. It's not like it moved by itself, said another. Then Thomas laughed. Of course, he chortled. It must have been the Phantom Brakevan after all. Thomas was still laughing when Percy arrived to collect his trucks that ran away from him. You see, Percy, said Thomas, brake vans can be important sometimes. Percy had to agree. They have their uses, he said. But how did my car stop? You can thank the Phantom Brakevan, Thomas laughed. Soon the men found another brake van, and Percy hoped that he would never have to listen to another ghost story ever again.